right, so a bunch of you have already started saying, STAAR training, we have to do this again. Well, yes and no. We do need to update. You need to know what is going on in our building all the time. Stop it. So today we'll serve for you as extra information for you. It's kind of a reminder. It's real quick and real general. It's stuff you already know, but maybe you forgot or maybe you didn't do right the first time, and so I want to make sure that you do it right the second time. Is you see some trace land arrows during the first round of testing and understanding land arrows, not so understanding the second round of testing. All right, so never assume anything. When in doubt, cry out. Please, please, please ask for help when you need it. Definitely prepare yourself so that you don't have to ask 5,000,000 questions, because we do have lots of things going on and I can't be running to your classroom every 5 seconds. But if you do have a question, please don't think, oh man, I'm in trouble if I ask this, because you would get more in trouble if you were to do it wrong. So please understand that. But step one, step one, step one, step one, read your manual. If you read it cover to cover already, it's now time to go back and read the specifics for what is coming up. If you did not already read it cover to cover like you were supposed to, it is now time to read it cover to cover. There is a lot of information in there that I don't cover in my trainings, I can't get to. It's things that you have to hold me accountable to as well. We have to make sure that we're all doing this right because we want what's best for our kids. That's why we're here. So please, make sure. Don't assume anything. Don't assume I'm an 8th grade teacher, so the only thing I need to prepare for is an 8th grade test, because come the day of testing, you know what happens. All sorts of craziness. So please, make sure that you are ready to give whatever test is given on each day that we give it. All right. There are lots of things going on next week. So many that my head is like spinning and buzzing. You don't have to understand it totally, but just that you are a little bit understanding of why I'm so crazy. I made this on the board so that you could see. On Monday, we are giving 8th grade math. There are 3 tests associated with that: STAAR, STAAR A, and STAAR L. But our 7th graders that are in advanced math, 61 students, are going to be taking that test. Our algebra students in 8th grade, 48 of those will not be taking that test. So we've got to make arrangements for those kids. We're going to be talking about that. On 7th grade, on Tuesday, it gets a little bit more interesting and exciting. We've got 7th grade math going on, 8th grade social studies. We've got STAAR, STAAR A, STAAR SOA, and STAAR L going on those days. That's a whole lot of different testing. That means that, you know, what you are doing and the person next door are probably not going to be the same thing. So please, please, please understand. That's why I tell you, read your manual, read your manual, read your manual. Because the more that you know and the less that you have to ask, there's not that many of us to go around. But if you need us, obviously we're going to be there. But it's an understanding of everything that's going on. The special notes for that day is the fact that those 61 kids that tested on Monday are not going to be testing on Tuesday. So where are they going to go? We're going to discuss that. Wednesday, finally, it gets a little bit easier because everybody, except for those students that already took STAAR Alt, are testing. So we have STAAR, STAAR A, STAAR SOA, STAAR L, reading, and science. I'm going to turn the page and you're going to tell me what test we're taking on what day. Anybody?
Monday's math.
For whom?
For 7th grade.
No.
8th grade and the 7th grade advanced, but the 8th grade who are advanced will not be testing on Monday.
Exactly. So please understand. I'll send that to you if you want, but just make sure that you know going into it, you know exactly what is expected of you. Okay? All right. So, I know, and I'm on video, and I'm going to say this. I know that there were a lot of people saying not so nice things about my name last go around in testing. Well, guess what? I am so sorry that I was doing my job, and I'm just putting it out there. If you don't do your job, when I have to do hours and hours of extra of my job, and you get in trouble for it, I'm sorry. There's nobody to blame but yourself. So this is the mean land arrows coming out saying, you know what? I expect you to do something because there's 500 million more activities going on that have to be done. So again, at this point in time, everybody here and everybody that's watching me on video, all materials must be covered or removed by Friday at 8 a.m. Everybody say that.
All materials must be covered or removed by Friday at 8 a.m.
All of it. So, if you're in a classroom and you are in doubt whether it needs to come down, go ahead and take it down. I had to go through your rooms again on Sunday after I'd already gone through your rooms on Friday. That's not nice. It's not fun. And then I get to hear about how, Landeros got everybody in trouble and that was just wrong. Well, it was also wrong for me to have to spend time away from my family doing extra stuff that you didn't do when you were supposed to. So, got it out there, said it, done. Check to see that you have at least one dictionary for every 5 students for the ELA test. That's the 7th grade reading. Carpenter's taking care of that. She's already started. She's already seen it. She's going to update after she's seen my new list today. Then, we also need calculators for 8th grade math test day. And Miss Lane and Miss Cray took care of that last time. I'm hoping that they're going to be ready to take care of that again. Right, Lane?
Gonna do it.
Awesome.
Okay.
That's 8th grade
She didn't know
math
that part.
on Monday. Okay? On Tuesday, when we take 7th grade math, there are only a few students who get calculators. So don't confuse me and say, hey, I need calculators for my class. Because the 7th graders don't get it unless it says so on their roster.
And I will get dictionaries out this week. Do not let the kids use them Monday or Tuesday. They can only use them Wednesday for 7th grade reading.
Right. But we got to get them ready. I mean, she's not going to have time to do it later. Okay. So, if we're talking about some testing procedures and kind of just some of the things that we also had problems with, 7 o'clock to 7:45, we've got to check out our materials. 7 o'clock to 7:45. Why? Because at 7:45 to 8:10 time, you need to have time in your class. I need to have time to go start STAAR A, STAAR SOA, and STAAR L all over this building. So, I don't need to be in testing headquarters after 7:45. So please make sure that you are in here ahead of that time. That's what's going on. I'm not saying, oh, I want you to, no. It is because there are so many different tests going on that I have to start making my rounds at that time and starting tests. So please make sure you're in here between that window, 7 o'clock and 7:45. You've got to make sure that you've got those calculators that you need. You've got to make sure that accommodations. The first round of testing is quite easy because there's not a whole lot of accommodations. The second round is when you need to start looking for math charts, calculators, overlays and things. And so you got to make sure that you have those. Yes?
Are we gonna have the same online help people we had last time?
Yes and no. But yes, we're all in this together.
Alderman's gonna help us again? Okay.
Stealing my thunder as usual, Della. Okay, so take care of all your personal business. After you've checked out your bin, you know what? I told you this last time. If you want to check out your bin, count it, get it ready, and just leave it here in the library because you've got to go get your coffee, you got to go run to the bathroom, you've got to go do that. That's fine. As long as you've already checked it, we can secure it here and you can still go about your business in the building. But it's got to be checked. Okay? Make sure that your phones are off, you know that. Make sure that you're preparing students for testing in your classroom. Make sure that they have everything that they need. Make sure they don't have anything that they don't need. Send them back to their lockers with the things they don't need in your classroom. Make sure that you're taking attendance as soon as you can. We do this every single time, and every single time somebody's like, well, I forgot. Come on. We can't get testing started until we get a good number of who's here and who's not here, because Linda starts on that telephone making phone calls to where those kids are so we can get them here. Okay? Make sure that all students sign a cell phone policy, whether they have one or not, in their possession.
May Kimbrell, please come to the office. May
You're making them
Kimbrell,
sign it
come to the
because a
office.
bunch of them always keep it in their bags, and then later when it goes off, you can say, hey, you signed the form. You understand. Collect the ones that they just have to have with them and make sure that they're off. They're not understanding the difference between silence and off. Amber alerts, flood alerts, etc., those still come in when the phones are on. Make sure those phones are absolutely off. These two are big issues. Do not skip the instructions in your manual that talk about the form number and the booklet number. If you choose to do those yourself, that's fine. Everyone else came to the testing headquarters with them blank. So you weren't choosing to do those, you were just choosing not to read those instructions. Make sure form numbers and booklet numbers are filled in. The students can do that. I am, 100%, no, I'd say 99%, okay with the fact that they're putting those in and they're doing a good job of it. The form number is the number on the front of their test booklet that says Form 23, and the booklet number is when you flip it over, it's those numbers on that barcode. If you don't know about that, ask us. The next one is, some students came to us after Snapshot Day in October. They do not have a pre-coded label or a pre-coded answer document. So I fill those in after I look up all their specific information. Do not allow students to bubble it in. It's fun. They get bored while you're reading instructions and they start filling in their bubbles. That information that's filled in when they circle it will negate the real barcode information. So it's very, very dangerous for them to do that. Please make sure no one is circling it. If they get a blank answer document and all it says is Debbie Brown across the top, tell them, don't worry about it. Miss Linderos will take care of it. I will. All right. Now again, Pearson did make an oops, and we're seeing the second part of it this go round. All right, so this go round when we're doing 8th grade math, the answer document is going to say 8th grade math and reading. Make sure as you're actively monitoring that you see those grid bubbles. That should be pretty easy to determine that they are on the 8th grade math side. All right, make sure that your door is unlocked. You did a good job of this last time, so that it's easy for us to go in and out as we're in there. Make sure that your seating chart is in an easy location, like right where we walk in, so that we can sign it as we're checking to make sure that you've done it correctly, and so that your relief personnel doesn't have to ask you where it is. And then, this is something new, we didn't really do this last year, but I like the idea of it better than trying to snoop into your rooms. We updated your time trackers with time, starting at 11 o'clock, 11:30, and 12 o'clock. If you will do that for us, I mean, that just kind of gives you something to do, something to look forward to. Oh, I actually have something different to do. Open your door real quick and tell us with a number how many students you have testing at that time, so that we don't have to, I don't have to send my monitor to go in and, look through the window, because that distracts the students. Okay, so if you can help us with that, that'd be great. If you forget, that's fine, but that's just something that will help us understand when we can stop, when we're close to stopping testing. All right, make sure that you're actively monitoring, make sure that you're looking and making sure that they're bubbling in the right spot. And of course, that doesn't mean that you're looking at the questions, but that you're, they're on a math page in the booklet, they're on a math page on their answer document. Before collecting the test, meaning before you grab it and you just walk off with it, make sure that as you are at that student's desk picking up and still looking at everybody else, that you're glancing on this and you put your finger to it, because there's something about touching that form that will help you ensure that they've bubbled in every single answer. If they don't, you give it back to them and you say that line that's in your checklist that says, remember, only answers bubbled on the answer sheet will be graded. Make sure that you put their answer documents in alphabetical order and the test booklet order. You do that all the time, that's good. Now, here's where we get into the interesting, everybody's going to go, kind of schedule. Schedules are different each day because we have different situations going on. For instance, Monday, 8th grade testing. We're going to do it like we did last time. C Hall and Science Building will be used for testing. We will put up those cafeteria tables, and nobody will be able to go by unless they're the testers. Okay, we won't have bells on Monday, so our 7th grade graders will be going about the rest of the building without going down C Hall. Well, some of you have to test on Monday. Some of you have classes on Monday, and so at this point in time, what I'll ask you to do is I'll ask you to look at round 2, day 1. This sheet has whether you are testing that day, what you are testing, and where you are testing if that is a different location. It also has you in a darker color if you are providing relief, and in the darkest color if you are covering a teacher who is going to be testing while not being able to handle their 7th grade duties. Okay, so everybody real quick, look at round 2, day 1. Yes, Tomlin?
Okay, I don't know, I don't think I missed anything, but you said that we're using C-Hall and Science for testing day 1?
Correct.
Well, I'm in B7 and it doesn't tell me to go anywhere different.
Sorry.
Day 1.
You are, and that's why I had these maps made by Ms. Henderson. You are going to be in Mr. Greenwood's class that first day. I'll add that.
Yeah, it just says testing 8th. I assume I'm in C Hall, but it didn't say who's.
Sorry. Okay, so I didn't update these, but I did bring a map, and I will be emailing you the map as well for day 1. Okay, day 1 is the day that we are not in our classrooms. We are in C Hall and Science Building, and so you can see the big map before you leave if you really, really want to know. Otherwise, I can just email it
I was
to
gonna
you.
let you
Cowger.
hold one at a time.
As does Miss Carpenter, so I just figured we were.
You're special. Yeah, that just comes from the master schedule or your towels.
Okay.
And Miss Cray's not special.
So if you're,
Nothing special about it.
If we're relieved, we're just relieving for that period, then we go about our normal day.
Right, because you have 7th graders.
Right.
Yes, and then the different part about you, Ms. Gifford, is that you will also have our skilled kids in the art shop with you as well. Okay? Any other questions about day 1? Have you looked over that information?
So we're not doing
So-
5th period day 1.
our sub information that is on.
I'm sorry?
Covering my classes, for example, who's covering my classes.
You're Monday, right? You're not testing on Monday.
But
You're relieving during 2nd period when you have 8th graders.
Oh, now, okay, now that makes sense. I
Okay.
got you, I got you.
Anybody else have a question about day 1?
Doing,
Because your group is primarily advanced. So Miss Leek and Miss somebody, Castillo, get the pleasure of 22 students for.
Now, would that be
Third
Basham,
period.
since Riddle won't be here?
Is she coming back?
She's coming back Monday, so I
Okay,
just,
so Basham gets the privilege of having those 22 students,
and then I'll have the choir boys.
so then you will have the choir boys. Yeah.
Thanks, okay.
You're welcome.
What about our first period?
Make them do a concert for you.
She will have all those 22 students that are not in advanced math all morning.
So they're not rotating.
They're gonna have time to go out in the hall.
I just put me here with Riddle
Y'all are
and
going
the
to
choir
assign them a
boys and
special
Basham.
project.
I mean, I'll do either one.
During the time that they're gonna be. Okay. Same thing for the Cray. The algebra kids on that day will be in the gym. 48 students will be in the gym with Miss Simonton and Miss Cray, and they will be working on a project. So if y'all have the advanced teams, if y'all have something for those kids that are not testing on those days, that's what needs to happen. But they're not rotating.
Did you say new gym or old gym?
New gym.
Okay.
Okay. Questions? No? Moving on. Turn to day 2. Round 2, day 2. It's on the back. I apologize, it's a little bit smaller.
round 2 day, I must have, you said it's on the back?
It's on the back of that page. You must have gotten the original. So, round 2, day 2. Almost everybody is testing or providing relief. All rooms are being used, so again, remember coverage. We need to cover science material, social studies material, reading material, math material. All material needs to be covered and removed for testing.
It says in relief, but is that all day? Or is there a class period associated with?
Look at the location. You are located in B Hall, so you are going to be providing relief for the teachers in B Hall during the entire test. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Need laptops? Are we gonna have that many more kids that we're gonna need laptops?
You had those problems in the credit recovery room. I don't want you to have that problem again of that wall crashing
Okay,
for STAAR. So it's just it's a note for me.
okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. You're going to get with the advanced team and they're gonna provide you some activities. Or you could switch out with one of the teachers and let them have their kids and you could just take an assignment. It just so happened when I got to the bottom, you were the one that didn't have an assignment, so you can switch with one of the testers. Okay, any questions about round 2, day 2? Awesome. Round 2, day 3, I didn't put a responsibility sheet because we are all testing. It will look a little bit different from the relief. Those of you who are relieving on day 2 will be testing on day 3, and I will be stretched for relief. I'm pulling in Miss Barker from Lamar. I'm pulling in someone from the high school to help with relief. But so that will be sent out a little bit later. But like I said, it's not a huge change from day 2 to day 3. Okay. Unfortunately, this round I did need another tester. So Miss Alderman, I appreciate how much help you work to me in computer lab. But I'm now having to have you doing STAAR L. And the 3 STAAR L students that we will have, even though they're 7th and 8th grade, can be in the same room. Okay, so. Yes.
On the schedule, that says the schedule's based on your portrait classes.
We're not there yet, Hodges.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Almost. I think the only other thing that I forgot to give you a copy of was this actual bell schedules, and I will email that out to you. Like I said, every day is a little bit different, and you can print it out. You can tell the kids and get them ready for what is to come. The memo is just, in writing. These are the things that we have gone over today that are absolutely important that must happen. Must happen. Okay, I'm not going to read that to you. All right, now let's get to.
On Wednesday,
Right. Monday is the only day that if you are regular testing, you will not be in your room unless your room is located in C Hall and Science Hall. Tuesday and Wednesday, as long as you're not doing an oral administration, you will be in your classrooms. Okay? All right. So don't stress out, dress out. For Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, come up with Monday, Home of STAAR Champions. I'm sorry, Mr. Sharp and Miss Lawyer who don't have their red shirts, but you can wear a red shirt. Okay? Everybody else wear your faculty shirt and jeans on Monday so that we can be the Home of STAAR Champions that day. On Tuesday, we're going to be relaxed and ready for STAAR greatness. So I want you to wear house shoes with your jeans. That'll just help with active monitoring. That will help you be comfy, and that will ensure that we have a quiet environment. So maybe we'll have a prize for the funkiest house shoes that are not distractors to the students, but
I can't remember what's it quack.
no quackers, no clickers, no bells. Quiet house shoes. And then Wednesday, STAAR will be gone with the wind. So we're going to wear wind pant Wednesday. That's athletic attire. Please no yoga pants.
oh man.
No tight, revealing clothing. I've had enough conversations with parents who did not agree that the tight was a matter of opinion. So please, let's not give them anything to chew on us for. Okay? I'm sorry?
No, sir. No, sir.
No, sir.
Take away all the fun.
I
Yes,
know.
What's
All right.
the side pants are
Can we wear jeans on Wednesday if we don't own a pair of wind pants?
I'll have to ask Mr. Barker.
I mean, I seriously don't own a pair
Sometimes
of
wind pants are noisy when you walk.
I have no
It's
idea.
athletic attire. I needed a word.
now. Yeah, the whole weekend.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, but when's payday?
Yeah,
All right.
exactly.
Now comes the confusion, and I've put in about 5 extra minutes for this one. So, Wednesday after STAAR, you're tired, they're tired, you don't want to teach, they don't want to learn. So, after STAAR, we have a fun day schedule. So if I can draw your attention to this sheet, this is why I asked you to borrow one of those highlighters from Miss Henderson, because everybody has a duty that day. Okay? Students will report to their 4th period classes that day after testing. That will be their team. Okay, so if you have a 4th period, that's your team. There are a few 4th periods that are not in with everybody else, and that's why I've got these boxes to the right. you will disperse your kids amongst that group. Miss Brooks, I know that that's a big class for you and a fun class for you, so choose appropriately.
I will separate.
Okay, all right, so if you will notice, it goes math, science, history, ELA. This is the confusing part that everybody needs to understand. We're all going to be at different stations at different times. There's 4 stations, if the weather permits. Station 1 is kickball, that's out in the math building field. Station 2 is volleyball, that's in the new gym. Station 3 is knockout in the old gym. And Station 4 is soccer in the field by the weight room. All right. Those stations will be manned by the people underneath station personnel to the right. And so if you find your name there, please highlight so that you know what your duties are. You will be at that station all afternoon. So if you're going to be outside and you need sunblock, you need hats, whatever, get ready for that. That's going to be your station. You're not going to move. Now if we go back to the top, like for instance in math, they're going to be moving from Station 1, Station 2, Station 3, and Station 4. So Lane's 4th period will be with Lane all afternoon. She will be responsible for taking them from place 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. When she gets to the station, she is responsible for making, the supervision. But at Station 1, Coach Brenninger and Coach Tomlin, they're responsible for giving materials, giving the rules to that, and overseeing the project. So, does everybody understand that? You're traveling with your 4th period to all these stations. Science teachers will battle against other science classes, okay? History teachers against other history classes. ELA classes against other ELA classes, okay? Alderman.
Which field is by the weight room?
Football field.
How we play knockout against each other?
Miss Brooks is going to come up with a really good way for that.
Okay.
We were trying to come up with something. It doesn't have to be knockout, but it has to be something in the new
One on
gym.
each end of one on each end of
Figure
the
something out.
You can have like, each class has winners, and then after that,
Okay, so
you
being a
come at the end.
recommendation, maybe
But
we
it's
could
not
start
gonna-
with just walk past
Can
the
you
lab
do it?
Minecraft, they would love that.
But we don't have 100. I guess we
Oh,
could
we
use
can't separate them out.
right, because we need them
Three
going in the same
different games
rotation.
going on in that
There's
class.
four, yeah. There's 3 games going on
Okay.
for 6 classes.
Alright.
Oh.
Okay. All right. So there are. If we were to have bad weather that day, we also have the stations up changed a little bit, and that's toward the bottom. So if we were to have bad weather stations, it would change just a little bit. We'd have volleyball, card games in the cafeteria, dodgeball in the old gym, and then you take the kids to your classrooms for one of the rounds, one of the rotations. So hopefully we have good weather that day, and we can all just let them
And they
out
don't have to play?
and let them. I'm sorry.
They don't have to?
They do not have to play, but they do have to be in that area with you at that time. So
That
if they
was my
choose to
question
sit
I had.
out and sit, like back
girls that
here,
didn't wanna do
there's
anything.
behind C Hall, there's a concrete slab. They
We're
can
gonna
sit
ask
right there as
about
long as,
devices.
they're in that same area. They can't go anywhere else. And they cannot join a different group. Okay, so every teacher is responsible for about 20 kids in those rotations. So you gotta make sure that they go with you.
The kids will ask about their devices on that day.
Yeah, that's the first thing they're gonna.
Can we just say no cell phones right now?
I would rather they not have them because we're gonna get them lost in a field. Because they're gonna be so active. We will make plenty of announcements to say that, you know what, you need to keep those things in your lockers. You don't need to keep them in the class. What we normally do is we start out in 4th period, and so you can lock your 4th period classroom, and then we go back to 4th period at the end, and so they don't necessarily have to go all the way back to their classroom. But we will start and end in 4th period on Wednesday, okay, after testing.
But we can tell
I
them.
can kiss you since it's not second
Right,
period.
we don't need them having their phones out during that time, no, we don't want that. We don't want to have to police it, and we don't want to have to go search the field for lost phones. Anything else? No questions about the fun day? All right.
Switch classes?
I'm sorry.
No, I'll keep going.
I'm sorry?
After the test. We're gonna go like grade your grid class, right?
Yes,
Go all
yes,
What period
yes.
your grid
I
class?
can pull that up. Guys, if you will give me a second, Mr. Williams is going to go over a couple other things that we have to talk to you about. I will pull up the schedules for next week so you have that in your mind before we leave. Thank you.
Okay, the last couple of things, and then we'll come back to Ms. Landeros, that's on the agenda for today, is testing, or coding camp. It is in the works. It has not been scheduled. It has not been finalized. It is just informational for you. UT Dallas is looking at bringing a couple camps to our district this summer, and it's called coding camps. And what it will be is basically they're going to set up 3 different areas for our kids that are from the age of 3rd grade all the way through 12th grade. And they're going to set up some computer classes or some computer camps. One of the camps has to deal with coding, having the kids build apps. At our 6th to 8th grade, they're building apps and they're working on the computers and those things. Younger ones are looking at some robotics, and some older ones are doing a couple different things. But it is in the works for them to come in. It will be something that our kids would have to pay for to attend. They're also looking at maybe having that funded in a little different way. It is just in a preliminary state for their summer to help some of our kids and get them involved in technology. Does that pretty much fit that? Is that about what it was this morning?
Scholarships and
Scholarships may fit. Right now, a half day is like 125, and a full day is $250. But they're looking into the funding. They're looking into the scholarships. And it is just preliminary. That is just in the works for this start. For a day camp.
for a week.
It's for a week, yeah. For a week. It's a day camp for a week. They're not canceling. Sorry.
I'm gonna make a guess on when you're gonna be there.
So that's coding camps. That'll be this summer. That is through the district for our grades 3 through 12. It's 3 different levels. 3 through 5, 6 through 8, and 9 through 12. The question was asked, is that kids coming into the 6th grade and the 8th grade, or is that kids going out? And we're not sure. That was a question that was asked this morning that did not have an answer. Okay? But didn't want you to get caught off guard. All of a sudden, something's taking place on the summer on our campus or high school campus, and you knew nothing about that. Wanted you to be notified of that. Along with that, we have this summer. It's not on the calendar or on the agenda, but this summer we will have a group of students that will be staying in the school for about a week. It's a mission trip that's coming in. It's called Bounce. It's through the local 365, and they'll be doing some of that. So come later in the school year or toward the end, there may be some things when we go to prep our rooms for summertime. If your room is being used, you may want to make sure some of that's not left in your classrooms over the summer, because we will have other camps taking place, groups coming in, and if it's something that you don't want lost, broken, that's a personal thing, you might want to pack it and take it with you over the summer. But that's just while I'm thinking about that. Okay, the other piece on the agenda is bullying. It's a big key word in the news nowadays. Every time you listen to the news, I think it pops up every day, at least on one of the stations, something about bullying, something that took place. A kid was bullied. There was a theft. There was a death. There was a shooting. There was a kid that died. There's all of these things taking place, and it's tied to bullying. Now, you and I both know not all of that is the truth in the sense of what are the actions taking place? What's going on? Kid comes in and says, I'm being bullied. Well, how are you being bullied? Well, she called me a nerd. Is that bullying? It depends on what's taking place. Depends on how it's going. We know our children can be mean. Is there a difference in being mean and a difference in being bullied?
Yes.
There is. Okay? There is. I've given you 2 sheets. There are 2 things just to read through. I'm going to let you do that on your own time. I'm going to hit some highlights that we need to know about, that you can help your students and help us in the office before they ever get to us, okay, with the terminology. You can also help us in the public, because it's the key word. Every parent I have met with this week, except for about 3, we're only on day 3. When they come in to visit with me about some kind of concern with their child, my child's being bullied. My child's being bullied. They're always being bullied. When it comes to, when we get down, we start talking about that, their child is not, majority of the time, their child is not being bullied. Their child is, there's an action against their child that is creating a negative environment. And it's a one-time event. That's not bullying. Okay? That's not bullying. For it to be bullying, here's a definition. This comes from Senate Bill 1942, and it's going to be in those paperworks in some form or fashion. But Senate Bill 1942 states or mandates that each board of trustees in each school district adopts an anti-bullying policy. Okay? If I read on down, bullying means engaging in written or verbal expression or expression through electronic means or physical conduct that occurs on school property or a school-sponsored or school-related activity or in a vehicle operated by a district. Conduct is considered bullying when somebody exploits an imbalance of power between the student perpetrator and the student victim through written or verbal expression or physical conduct. It also interferes with a student's education or disrupts the operation of the school. And lastly, behavior is repeated. I was at a training about a couple months ago, and what it comes down to is 3 things when I look at it. When I look at a kid that comes in and the parents say, "Oh, my child's being bullied." 3 pieces. Is it imbalanced? Is there an imbalance of power? Is it intentional? And is it repeated? And you think about the kids that have talked to you over the last 6 months, and they use the word, "I'm being bullied." And I want you to think about those 3 criteria. Was it imbalanced? Was there an imbalance of power? If a kid comes to you and says, she called me this or he called me that, and they're being mean, is that an imbalance of power? It could be. It really could be. Because someone may be bigger, they may be faster, they may be stronger, they may be a male against a female, and there may be an imbalance of power. Okay? There may be physical altercation there. Is it intentional? You think about our kids on this campus. Most of the time, is it intentional to cause the other one imbalance of power? Most of the time, I don't think the kids are thinking. They just are mean. Or being mean at that time. So is it intentional? And lastly, is it repeated? Is it repeated? Bullying takes place over time. And we have some children that are picked on all the time. But they were picked on by little Susie today, Johnny tomorrow, Billy on the next day, Israel on the next day. I mean, they have problems with lots of children. Is that a bullying effect? Well, we could classify it if it's continuous over time and they all have something in common. It could be bullying. When we're talking to our parents and we're talking to our kids, ask those questions. Dig for some of those things. Well, who's bothering you? Did it happen today? Why did it happen today? Did you say something back to them to cause them to be mean to you? If they're doing something back to that person, more than likely it's just a struggle. It's an argument. It's an argument. But every time, unfortunately, every time a child says, "I'm being bullied," we have to look into it. It's the legal law. That Senate Bill 1942 says that we have to look into every case. And we have to decide, is it bullying or not? If you believe a kid's being bullied and it's not being taken care of by you, then it needs to be sent up. If they come to you and says, I have a problem with Johnny because he's bullying me, you need to ask those questions. If you can help stop that in the classroom, work with your kids, what's going on? Well, she's doing this or he's doing this. Try to stop it in your classroom. If it's not stopping, it needs to be turned into the office. We have bullying forms that I have the kids fill out, that we start that paperwork. But if a kid comes in and says, "I'm being bullied," and I told Mrs. Brown 4 times that she was picking on me, he was hitting me, and Ms. Brown did nothing, then I'm going to go back to Ms. Brown and say, "What took place?" And if she said, well, I didn't do anything, I didn't think he was telling the truth, then there's something wrong there. Or, you know what, I moved him away from so-and-so, we talked about it, we looked at it, I thought it was done with, I thought it was a one-time event, then we're doing something, we're taking those steps. Those steps include, at my level, it's contacting a parent, writing a letter, whatever I need to do.
Can I see a copy of the bullying form?
Stop by and what you,
It's in your handbook.
Is it?
It's in
Okay.
your
Oh, then I've got a copy.
there's
of
one in the
it.
handbook and there's some in the sliders right outside.
Okay.
We
I
got
just
pick up
wanted to look at it for a second.
referrals.
Do they have to fill it out in the office, or if they said they're being bullied, could we give it to them in class?
You can give it to them later, yeah, or in class,
Okay.
okay? Okay. So, and I'm picking on her right now, and yes, I'm bullying her. Okay? But here, is it repeated?
No.
Did I do it yesterday?
No.
Then it's not bullying.
But
I'm just being mean.
But it is an imbalance of power.
It is an imbalance of power.
Yeah.
Okay? But the kids are taking, and you're saying that, part of that, the kids are trying to grab something, a hold of something, and they go home, I'm being bullied, Mom. I visited with the parent this morning, and the mom said she's being bullied and all this. When it gets down to it, we have some things that are taking place. Somebody's being mean, and that, yes, there may be a threat involved there, but it is being those pieces.
Or they were mean first, and now all of a sudden they're being called names,
Yeah.
and now it's bullying.
I got a question though. What if I keep getting a complaint that the same kid's mean? It's different kids, but he's mean. So is he the bully?
He could be.
Could be.
And I've pulled him aside a couple of times.
could be.
and- Okay.
He could be. And that's where we have to go. And the same kid can be the bully.
That's what I'm thinking.
Mr. Barker is a bully for all of y'all all the time. But he has to be for his part. But is he trying to get something out of you? Am I asking you for your lunch money every day? That in power or balance? Am I trying to take something from you? Okay.
It's also a thing like, oh, I'm feeling this from this class because somebody's bullying me, Mom, every day.
Yeah.
Not bullying, but that's what they're saying.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now we have kids that are picked on because unfortunately we are all different. Okay?
Is it under forms in the?
Well, I don't know if we came up with that one later.
No,
Oh, okay.
Did we?
it's in there.
Okay.
I remember.
We have kids that put themselves out there, they're a little bit different. Hey, we're all different. And they open themselves up
Kind of
to,
like dress code and that stuff.
they're different. And they're different than another kid, and that other kid wants to say something. Well, you dress funny. We have some kids,
They all just funny.
we have some kids that don't have perfect hygiene. And we have other kids that will say something about that. Okay?
I have no sense of smell.
So we have to work with all of those kids at being mature around everybody else. To help us out with some of those things, some of y'all that were here in the last couple of years, this saying is maybe old, but it works. We need you to be vigilant in monitoring your hallways, your classrooms, the locker rooms. Coaches, I know that puts it on y'all, but if there's there are mass number of kids in there, y'all got to be somehow listening to those locker rooms. Because our kids, they get to, I mean, the boys, they get to talking about each other, they get to talking about what's taking place. In high school, they talk about what took place on the weekends, and they start picking back at each other. It's just picking, nag, 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 trying to dig at each other. And then one gets mad, and they start pushing, or they start doing something else. Sometimes, that's it. Okay? That's it. But we need to be monitoring those places, all places. When we look down the hallway, yes, I am bad about getting out of my office when I'm working with a kid and being in the hallway during passing period, but I have to do a better job of that. You have to do a better job of that. We have to be monitoring these kids in these hallways. Okay? We've done a really good job. We're going to look at doing some changes for next year and maybe helping with the mass numbers in the hallways, but we have to be there. Hallways, locker rooms, bathrooms. Our kids have figured out how to turn lights off and trash the bathrooms in the last month.
How do you turn the lights off?
Paper clip, bobby pin, pocket knife.
Fingernail clippers.
Fingernail clippers.
All the items that are not supposed to be in school.
Okay?
Got it?
So we need to be watching that. Rubber bands. I took a 2-pound bag of rubber bands up off of a kid this week.
I
Dear God, I need something.
Okay, come get some from me, I'll loan them out. I'll give them to you. He's not getting them back.
I'm sure they're probably ours anyway.
They were using them for hornets.
For what?
Hornets.
I got hit with one last
What's a
night.
hornet?
It's where they take a piece of paper, they wad it up multiple times, and then they sling it at each other. It's about like a rock hitting you in the back of the head.
Using it for slingshot.
Hey, it was really bad about 3 years ago when everybody started shooting the pins at each other. They started figuring out how to make the pins pop out.
Well, this year,
These were pins, the
Well,
G2 pins.
well, earlier this year, they were launching BBs and pellets out of them. So if they're breaking the pins apart, take the pins, throw them away, whatever you have to do. So,
Those things shot hard. I got hit with one.
well, we had a classroom this year that the BBs were in the ceiling. They went through the ceiling, so they will hurt. Please, please be monitoring your kids. Not only what they're doing, but what they're saying. Because we need to make sure that we're monitoring those things. Yes, I have all kinds of things that come in. And yes, our kids are going to say lots of things. If you can put a stop to it or curb it in your classroom, then that's going to do a lot for you in that classroom. You have to, I mean, if they're sent to the office, I'm taking your word for it, it doesn't, we're going to do what we can. But if you can curb what's taking place in the classroom with what they're talking about, if they're talking about a fight that's going on over the weekend or went on over the weekend, or a video, or if they're talking about somebody having problems, put a stop to it as much as you can right then and there. If it's an issue that you think that the office needs or the counselor needs, let us know about that. Especially if you feel that you can't handle that or you don't want to handle that piece. But the bullying, we just all need to know that it's a huge deal. It's the term, it's the buzzword in the media, and it's the buzzword in the media that's going to get someone in trouble.
And we can now get sued for it.
So we want to make sure that we're talking to our kids, we're looking at their actions, what's taking place, what they're saying, and we're trying to put a stop to it. Little Johnny called me something. Well, go tell little Johnny don't say that anymore.
We can't tell them don't be that. I'm just kidding.
So.
All right, so to finish up, thank you, Mr. Williams. To finish up, I promised you a copy of the schedule, and before I forget, I also made copies for the towels to have a list of the rosters. I know some of you like to be eager beavers and you like to know who is coming to your classroom, and so every towel is getting a copy of what I have for day 1 and day 2 already ready for them. So if that is you and you want to go prepare, you know who to go to. Now on the board are the schedules. If you'll notice, I highlit, I don't know what the past tense of that is, but I switched the first one because it was just easier that way. We've got 8th grade on the left-hand side when we normally have the 7th grade there. So on Monday, because we are testing on that side, it was just easier to just change it that way. So we are going to go to 1st, 2nd, and, full schedule for 7th grade. But for 8th grade, once we're done testing, we're going to go to lunch at the regular scheduled 8th grade lunchtime, 12:22 to 12:52, I'm hoping. And then we'll just finish out the day, normal schedule, 5, 6, 7. On Tuesday, we're going to pick up where we left off last time. We started at the top, the last testing schedule, so now we're starting at 3rd period afterwards. So we will be testing from 8:15 to 12:25-ish. Then I put this in there as a little bit of cushion for a 3rd period. If we have time, we'll go to 3rd period. If we don't, we'll squish it. If we finish early, you can't read this, but it says if we finish early, then we will split the lunches, because it works to have 7th and 8th grade at lunch together, because it's, we have the bleachers and we have the cafeteria, and it's 30 minutes and we're done with the chaos, because after testing, it's bad in the lunchroom. But if we can't do that, then we will have a together lunch right here at 1:05. But so be advised, if one of these tests finishes early, and usually 8th grade does, 8th grade social studies doesn't take them very long, then that 3rd period might turn into lunch for them, and then we'll flip-flop and go to lunch for 7th grade after, and we'll just flip. 8th grade will go back to 3rd period. So we'll go 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th, and those will be 30-minute periods that day. Then on Wednesday, the bell schedule is that same thing, except the cush period is that 4th period class right after testing, depending on how long it takes us to do the reading and the science. then we'll have lunch, and again, if we, finish early on one side or the other, then we'll go ahead and fix the schedule for lunch. But then, after that, we're going to our fourth period class so that we can leave our things, They carry lots of things, and that way you can lock it up. Then we'll do our first rotation. Well, rotation 1 might not be station 1 for you. You're going to whatever is the first station on your list. That's why we got the highlighters out. Everybody use the highlighter to mark their names, and they know exactly where they're going after they've put their things up. So we'll go through 4 rotations of 30 minutes apiece. Everybody can handle 30 minutes of kickball. Everybody can handle 30 minutes of volleyball, basketball, soccer, etc. We'll start it, they'll get crazy, and then it'll be time to move on, and they'll be like, really, we gotta go? And you'll say yes. So we will be done at 3:55 on Wednesday. Any questions regarding your schedule for next week?
I'm trying to look, no, it's, only day we have third period is Tuesday, correct? For 8th graders.
For 8th graders, yes.
Okay.
I'd like to farm out a few kids. Does anybody have, like, if you want to take a couple, I've got library aides, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 5th, 6th, and 7th. So some days I need to farm out some kids if you're willing to take them.
Just on a normal day?
Well, no, I'm talking about during the testing because they can't come in here. No, I
She likes her kids.
I'll
She
keep
can
my
put them
kids.
to work. Any questions in regards to all of the information that I've given you about the upcoming days?
Do you know what room we're switching to? Is it on that map?
It's on this map.
Okay, I'll look there.
Yeah. And I will email you the maps and the schedule. There's that one. I'll put this one. So, any announcements? Anybody want to tell us something about what's going on in your world? Any celebrations?
Almost summer.
Alderman.
Choir got ones on stage.
Whoop,
Saturday yesterday.
Very good.
And they were amazing. I was the audience.
You're the audience.
Ones is awesome. That's like the highest score you can get, right? Yeah.
Awesome.
5.
5. Or you can get disqualified.
Yeah.
Okay.
One is the highest.
Theater's doing a fundraiser. These kids have